According to Wikipedia, Chief White Eagle, c. 1825, February 3, 1914, was a Native American politician and American civil rights leader who served as the hereditary chief of the Ponca from 1870 until 1904. His 34-year tenure as the Ponca head of state spanned the most consequential period of cultural and political change in their history, beginning with the unlawful Ponca Trail of Tears in 1877 and continuing through his successful effort to obtain justice for his people by utilizing the American media to wage a public relations campaign against the United States and President Rutherford B. Hayes. His advocacy against America's Indian removal policy following the Ponca Trail of Tears marked a shift in public opinion against the federal government's Indian policy that ended the policy of removal, placing him at the forefront of the nascent Native American civil rights movement in the second half of the 19th century. White Eagle was born on the ancestral Ponca homeland somewhere near the confluence of the Niobrara River and Missouri River, which forms the contemporary South Dakota-Nebraska state line. At the time of his birth, the Ponca form of government was an oligarchy in which the full sovereign power of the Ponca was vested in a hereditary chief sovereign who was counseled by 13 chiefs, 6 senior chiefs and 7 junior chiefs, who represented the interests of the Ponca citizenry. The chief sovereign served as the head of state and ranking senior chief, and the position was a dynastic succession based on male primogeniture. Dynastic rule was vested in White Eagle's direct male line, a dynasty established by White Eagle's paternal grandfather Chief Little Bear late in the 18th century when he assumed power from the traditional sovereigns by heroic feat. At the turn of the 20th century, White Eagle provided ethnographers at the Smithsonian Institution the oral history of how he became hereditary chief sovereign. Fled. Little Bear, who was uninjured, climbed up the bluff, and, seeing the Sioux, drew his bow and shot the man through the head. Besides this scalp, Little Bear and his party captured some ponies. On the return of the party, Little Bear gave his share of the booty to the chief who had lost his son. Little Bear went on 3 other expeditions and always returned successful, and each time he gave his share of the spoils to the chief. When Little Bear came back the 4th time, the chief kept his word and resigned his office in favor of the young man. Little Bear was my grandfather. When he died, he was succeeded by his eldest son, Two Bulls. At his death, his brother, Iron Whip, Wegasapi, who was my father, became chief, and I succeeded him. White Eagle's exact birth year is unknown. Various sources place his birth year as early as 1803 and as late as 1840, though both historical estimates are dubious. When White Eagle died in early 1914, American press reports indicated that he was the oldest Indian in the United States at 111 years old, placing his birth in 1803. 1 year prior to the arrival of the Lewis and Clark expedition in 1804. This report is dubious, as White Eagle's father Iron Whip told British author Charles Mackay in 1858 that he was 56 years old, placing his birth year at 1802. As White Eagle was Iron Whip's firstborn son, there is an equally low probability that he was born in 1840, a year made all the more unlikely as White Eagle was documented as a junior chief on August 8, 1846, when he accompanied a high-ranking Ponca delegation that sought to establish diplomatic relationship with Brigham Young's Mormon pioneers during their emigration to the Great Basin. The delegation was led by White Eagle's aged paternal grandfather Little Bear, whose death was recorded by the Mormons in 1846. The Mormons witnessed the transfer of power to Little Bear's eldest son and White Eagle's uncle, Two Bulls, after Little Bear's death. A month later, Two Bulls died, and the Mormons again witnessed the transfer of power to White Eagle's father, Iron Whip, who abdicated the hereditary chief sovereignty to White Eagle in 1870, thereby corroborating White Eagle's oral history.